Hello, everybody. Session 3 of the Patty Lyons knitting bag of tricks. I almost forgot what the book was called. How did everybody do with my favorite thing? Math.
Took forever. Oh, look at you.
Oh, hold on, Aura. We got to
All
see
right.
that.
Yay.
Hold on. Spotlight.
That was a stock, a flat, and this
Flat.
is round with all of the. I love this way.
It wasn't that nice?
Yeah, I really like
Yes.
this way. Yeah.
Awesome. Did anybody have any trouble with the way she described knitting in the round?
Mm-mm.
I thought it was really good.
It
Oh,
was very
Bridget, you
good.
had trouble?
Yeah, I did.
I'm happy to demonstrate it if somebody would like me to do that. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. I even had my thought maybe somebody might. So um I, and I don't know. I'm gonna do a gallery view here. Show of hands. How many of you are procrastinators?
Oh,
How many didn't get your swatch blocked yet? So I'm not quite done with my swatch. So this is perfect. I'm still working in the round, so I
yeah.
can I can demonstrate that for you. No problem whatsoever. Okay. Let me, and anything you want me to demonstrate, I'm happy to do that. So, because I've got my camera all set up and the dogs are locked out.
Well,
Okay.
it does rip out nicely.
It does rip out nicely.
I had to rip mine out because I didn't like my edges. So I ripped it out and started over again. And I was able to make my loop smaller because I told you
Yeah.
before, Pam, that the wrapping it 5 times was just way too many.
Yeah.
At least
So,
with my swatch, at least with mine, it was just too much.
right.
Oh
So
no.
I will, before I switch to the camera, so what you're going to end up doing is having these little loops that hang off the side. And that is like the leftovers after you've knit with this giant loop that we're going to make. So
Okay.
I found it a little tedious to lay my yarn back and forth 5 times. Because you got to do that like every other row. It gets
Can
a little
you,
annoying.
can you be
So
bigger, Pam?
what's that?
Can your screen be bigger?
Yes, it can. I can be bigger. Here we go. Continue. Okay. So I've got all these leftover loops. So this is the yarn I didn't use after knitting the rows that I had made the big loop for. Okay. So I'll demonstrate how to do it, but it'll be hard to show on the camera. What I realized that about that loop that I was laying across 5 times was about, I measured it 41 inches long. So what I decided to do instead of every time laying it across, I had my tape measure out, pulled out to 41 inches, and then every time I needed to, I could just pull the yarn and then I didn't have to lay it across 5 times. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yes.
so I'll show the laying it across, but that got tedious for me once I figured out how long that was. And the first one I did, it was a little too long, so I took off an inch because
Yep.
like, oh, I have plenty. You got to have enough, and I'll show it. You got to have enough to continue to wrap so it's not super tight because that will adjust your tension. Um, but you don't need to have miles and miles either. So, okay.
Yeah, but mine is Aran weight, and I do need it the 5 times in mine. And
Yes,
like a little bit because of my yarn, my weight.
exactly. And I think it depends on exactly the yarn you're using, your how tight you pull, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so let me share here and make that bigger. Okay.
Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Yeah,
heard that when we do the kind that the when we're doing it in the round, but we're doing it flat and we take it behind our hand or
yeah,
whatever, that oftentimes that also messes up our ability to get proper gauge.
it
That something
can.
like this would be better.
Correct, because what it keeps you from being able to lay it flat
Yeah.
unless you
Okay.
cut the yarns in the back. And
Oh, well,
I
I
can
could do
show
that.
that technique. But then you can't reuse your yarn if
Yeah,
you need it.
that's why.
Exactly. So I had been introduced to this, but it's not something that I used. Um, um, if you come into the shop at all, Peg is a big swatch maker, and she swatches in the round. And she is one of those people that she has saved every swatch she's ever made. And she has
Oh,
something like 80 sweaters.
oh,
So she's just one of those people. So she's not worried about having to reuse her yarn. She cuts it, she blocks it, she saves it. She's just one of those people. I
mm-hmm,
am not one
mm-hmm,
of those people.
mm-hmm,
I am as the
mm-hmm.
skin of my teeth. What if I need this leftover yarn?
Yep.
I'm gonna lose the swatch. Why would I save the swatch? I've made the sweater. I'm not one of those people. So for me, this, I love this. Okay.
It's pretty neat.
Yep. Okay. So we we moved from knitting back and forth, and then we did a purl row. And you know what? Let me pull up the directions because I actually had to read that a couple of times. Oh, please. Okay. So she says, keep working flat for a few more rows, ending on a right side row. So then on your wrong side row, you're going to knit, and that's what creates this. So we're ready to start a right side row, which is what I'm ready to do now. Okay. And then you have to go to her book, which I believe is page. I found that because I'm using my Kindle, that the Kindle pages aren't necessarily exactly the same. I think it's 142.
142,
Is it
142.
142? Okay, good.
Hey, Pam, quick question. What's the right side and the wrong side in stockinette?
The knit side is considered your right side,
Got it. Okay.
the public facing side, and the bumpy side is considered your wrong side.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, if this was reverse stockinette, it would be reverse, which is a term I'm starting to understand more and more why people say that. But okay, so we're going to pretend, let's zoom in, that I've done this and pretend these extra rows aren't here. I um I've turned back. I'm ready to work a right side row. Um, is that correct? Yes. Hold on here. All right. Okay, so we slide our work to the other end of the needle. So our working yarn is way down here. Okay. Isn't that correct? Yes. Yes, the working yarn is coming from the left. Okay, so here, ignore my loops. Here's my working yarn. I'm going to slide this down. Okay, I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to fold it across here. She says 5 times. You might figure out that you don't need quite so much. If you do it while it's on the needle, you're going to be laying out more yarn than you need because this is much wider when it's on the needle. So if you put it to your cord, of course, if you're using like a long double point, it's always going to be on the needle, but try not to have it stretched out. And let me just pull some yarn out. Okay. So then lay it across once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. Okay. So that's roughly how much you need. Now, this is what I did. I took right here where my finger stopped from here to where it attaches to my work. That's what I measured for me is about 42 inches. So I didn't have to keep doing that. Once I realized it was the right amount. I did it a couple of times. I'm like, oh, this is annoying. So you can do it that way. But don't lose your spot here where we finished. And then she says, holding the end of the yarn that you just measured, which is right here where my thumb is, and draping all of that extra yarn across the back. Whoops, sorry. There we go. I want my needles to the front. Okay. Um, she wants you to hold this end against the tip. I'm going to give you a little tip that works just as well. So still hold that spot. The first two stitches you're going to knit through the back loop. So go in like you're going to knit that first stitch. That's the spot right there. Go ahead and loop it. Pull it through. Go in to knit your next stitch, but we want to knit across this row, not using all of this loopy yarn I measured, but the end that is attached to my ball still. Okay, so this part right here, let me zoom out so you can see it better. Okay, stay right there. So here is all of that 42 inches I measured out. It's hanging out. It's attached down here at this end, and now I have done my first stitch with the point of it right there. But now I'm going to knit the rest of the row with this. All that does is it secures that end right here. Okay? I think that's just an easier way to do it than holding it against the tip, using this end. Just loop it over and then knit all the way across using your working yarn attached to your ball, not the big loop. I know this is jumping ahead a little bit. We'll go back and talk about the other stuff in here too, but I thought this might be helpful. Okay, so I'm getting to the end. I am also going to knit the last two stitches through the back loop. What that does is it twists them and it holds the end. So this last stitch is attached to my big loop, the other end of my big loop. I've got yarn ends everywhere here, sorry. So this is attached to the last stitch. The other end of it is attached to the first stitch, okay? So you might have to tighten this up to knit the last stitch still with your yarn attached to your ball of yarn, but you just might have to tighten it up a little. You just have to find the right loop. There it is. Okay. All right, so then we slide back to the other end, and here now we're leaving the ball yarn down here at that end, and we're going to use this big loop now to knit a right side row again, starting with the two stitches in the back loop first, and then working across with my big loop yarn. My husband is on a business call in the other room, and I just heard him use the words "my wife" 2 times. That does not sound promising for me. It sounds like I'm being obligated to do something. Okay, last 2 stitches. Knit through the back loop. Oh, that was not the last stitch. There we go. So I'm getting down to this is how much I have left, which you could cut it shorter. I could maybe go down to 40 inches, but I'm not having to like fight to get my hand in there. I haven't had to adjust my tension at all as I get across. So for me, that seemed like a reasonable amount. I didn't have to change my knitting style um, based on how much yarn I had left to work with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so then we go back down and then we do it again. We lay it across 5 times, or you could just measure and bring it up across here, keeping that big loop in the back. So we'll pretend this is my point where I need to. I just loop it across my back needle. Oop, I want to go in the back of that loop. Pull it through, and that secures the spot. You just have to make sure when you go to knit that first row that you're not using the back loop yarn, you're using the yarn attached, the end attached to your ball of yarn. And that's how you keep doing this, what does she call it? The
Lazy.
lazy swatch, which I think is great. Okay, was that helpful?
So you're always knitting the right side row?
Always knitting the right side row, which is exactly what you're doing when you're knitting in the round. You're never
Right.
purling. You're just sliding back to the right side row all the time. And it allows it to lay flat, which is without having to cut the yarn. The other method that maybe some of you have seen before is that we're going to pretend here. Take these out. If you've not ever done a swatch in the round before, um, some people, and Elizabeth Zimmerman is notorious for if you need to make a swatch in the round, just make a hat. But I don't want to make a whole hat. I just want to make my swatch. All right, let's get. So if you were, I'm just going to take out these last few stitches that we just did. So another way to knit in the round without having to knit a hat or use those tiny little 9-inch needles and to give yourself a big enough swatch to measure is when you get to the end of your row, you slide down to the end. You take your working yarn that's down here at this end, that's attached to the ball, and leaving somewhat of a loop so that it drapes across the back. We just start knitting with our yarn. So we're still only working the right side row. And you just have this loop. Well, you do this every row. So you have this series of loops like this that attach from this end to this end. You have to make sure that it's long enough and it's really easy for them not to be even. And when all is said and done, it tends to pull it in So what you end up having to do is cut all these loops so that you can get a swatch to lay flat. So this avoids you having to cut yarn and waste yarn and make a big enough swatch. Does that help?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So I kind of like this lazy swatch.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm.
And I do think you'll find that maybe measuring, once you figure out how much you need to really get across, it will go a little faster that way. All right, let me get my stitches back on here. All right. Okay, so let's go. All right. So this little section started with, besides a lot of math, page. Um, oh, so what did you find about your back and forth versus your round? Or what did you find out about your stitches? Anybody want to share?
Surprisingly, my gauge was exactly the same, but I think it's because of this iron weight, because it's never the same between on the round and back and forth for me, but it is. I counted it a zillion times, and it's exactly the same.
I have to say, if I am on,
Mine was pretty close.
yours was
Mine was
close.
pretty close the same also, which really surprised me.
Mhm.
Jeanette, what weight of yarn are you working with?
I'm using that, goodness gracious, I wrote it down.
Or what size needle are you on, I guess?
I use an 8,
Okay.
and I'm using the Blue Sky wool stock.
Okay.
Oh, I use 9 for mine.
Yeah. I personally find if I'm trying to do socks, like on a 1, my gauge is very different in the round
Oh, yeah.
than
Yeah. I do
a
my socks in
skinny
a
yarn.
zero, and they are different. Yes.
Yeah. For sure, my flat gauge and my round gauge
Yeah.
are really different.
They are, but not today.
I was really surprised. Mine is almost exactly the same, and I'm working on a 7.
Mine too. Mm.
Yeah.
What I was thinking, Pam, when I did my measurements, and I
Mhm.
noticed that if they were not the same, they were doggone close to the same. I thought maybe doing the round this way, I was a little bit more relaxed than pulling that yarn back and forth
Mm.
like that.
Absolutely.
Have that loop in the back. I thought maybe that was the difference.
Right.
Mm.
And when you guys did your swatch, what she talked about, using your ball band for deciding how many stitches to cast on, did everybody follow that?
Yeah.
It probably had you cast on a lot more stitches than maybe you typically do for a
Mm.
swatch.
Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think which it sure did for me. I typically don't cast on that many stitches, but you're probably getting a much more accurate gauge because we're really getting an actual fabric. Like she talks about, this is like a square out of my sweater. You know,
Right. Mhm.
exactly. I think that makes a difference too. And did anybody do that little measuring cup thing where you take, like I was holding up, what page was this on? Page 30. Um, when I was looking at it, and did I see any space underneath my stitches? And I saw a little, but I really wasn't sure how much was a little and how much was a lot.
Mhm.
So I did that thing that she said on page 42 in the actual book where you take your needle off and you go up a size and see if it will slide on, and it did. And I like my stitches so much more. So I went from let me show. And my previous swatch, come on. Oh no, I don't want to do that. You don't need to see all my work here. Okay, cam. There we go. So all the way up until the stitch marker, I was working on a size 6 needle. And then I tried that measuring cup thing. And I think my stitches are so much more even and like fill up the space so much better. It doesn't pull in nearly as much.
Mhm.
So then I just continued on in the 7, and it never occurred to me to try that. I thought that was an amazing little, and if you didn't do it, try it sometime.
I didn't do it because I like the way that the stitches look. So
Totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. But I was really looking at what she was saying about could I see underneath? And I'm like, well, kind of, but I don't know if that's a lot or not. And I thought maybe my fabric didn't look particularly even. Like the stitches looked a little sloppy, but I was really
Mhm.
paying attention. But my stitches looked a little sloppy. So I just slipped the needle out. I put the next size in and did a few rows, and I'll be dipped if I didn't like it the way it looked. The gauge isn't hugely different at all. I probably could have been fine on that one, but I like the way it looks a lot better. And she also, darn her, made me stop and think.
yeah.
Slow down instead of rushing through the gauge. I was really stopping and thinking about the stitches, and I don't typically do that anymore. So that was
That's
a really,
a
yeah.
very interesting conversation because I wrote to myself in the book
Mm-hmm.
and I put down, I worked to 4 inches. This was on that flat one, flat
Yeah.
part. And, but I did it stop and go. And
Mm-hmm.
I could tell in my row gauge across, it varied by like half a stitch. It was sloppy. It felt sloppy. And I said
Yep.
I should work uninterrupted. Well, pray God that any of that
Good
ever
luck.
happens. Exactly.
Yep.
And you, because I didn't understand the measuring cup, I skipped over it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
well,
Yeah.
no, I didn't get it. So guess what? I've added to my note. So I should try a
Try that.
needle size larger. If it
Mhm.
slides on, knit with that and see how it feels.
Right. And if it
That is
slide
not you.
if it slides on really easy,
Too
maybe
easy.
even go up 2 sizes
Yeah,
just
I was
in
going to
case,
say
and
too easy.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to kind of go up to a needle that
Because, well, when I actually blocked the whole thing, they turned out perfect.
that's
I
great.
mean, it's cotton and it just
Yeah.
was perfect.
That's awesome.
So all the sloppiness left and
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah. And it didn't roll on the edges as much. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed it
Right?
right away.
Yep, absolutely. Um, interesting. I hadn't really thought about now I do beginning knitting. I teach beginning knitting a lot. And the in the book I kind of reread chapter 2 again and talking about are you a spreader? Are you a, how you hold those stitches? That's everything beginning knitters do. They're like, what's wrong? And they've got their needles spread apart. Like, what's wrong with this? It doesn't look like knitting. I'm like, put your needles together. All the really common things. But when I stop to think about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we do. We don't think about keeping our needles, at least I don't anymore, keeping my needles together, pulling the stitch off in the same direction that the needle is pointing.
Mhm.
We get it's you get a little not sloppy, but you get used to it.
We're just on autopilot.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was genuinely surprised what a difference it made when I really stopped to do it. I have to say, one of my favorite things that was, hold on, because I bookmarked it. Hold on, let me find it. That she said in here. Um, oh, about if you're knitting a swatch, you should do everything like you're going to be knitting the sweater. Like she rode the train, so she knits her swatch while
Yeah.
on the train. I love when she said, if you get a few rows done every morning after pouring a cup of coffee down your throat and fighting with your kid, then put on a pot coffee, pick a fight, and cast on a swatch. Like, Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Substitute kid for husband. Yeah. Uh-huh. I thought that was so funny. But it's true. Like you put it down, you pick it up.
Uh-huh.
Moods change.
Yes.
Minds, you're thinking, or if I'm watching TV, I'm like, oh, I'll do my swatch while I watch TV.
Mhm.
Am I really paying attention to my knitting? Probably not as much as I should have. Yeah. So, I really like that. Let's see.
It's a good idea, Pam, but doesn't it kind of lock you in so you can't take your knitting? You always have to do your knitting on the train, or you always have to do this project on the train, or you always have to argue with your kids or husband and then project. It kind of locks you in.
I know it. I do think that this will maybe remind me to be a little more mindful when I start. Often I pick it up and I put it down and I just go without taking a breath. Like, okay, what am I doing? Am I really? And then get into the motion of it. I am absolutely not going to stop watching TV while I knit. I would never watch TV. Like, hello. That's what I do. And I got to keep up with my stories. So, um, but just maybe being a little more mindful as I'm working across something. So, and checking in that getting started part, making the swatch, making sure I'm on the right needle, um, making sure I really do like the fabric. Could it be better? Yeah. All right. So some people actually started this early enough and they were able to block their swatch.
Yep.
What kind of difference did you get in your gauge?
Half a stitch only.
Just the
Only
Me
half
pin.
a
too.
stitch?
Just a half a stitch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Half a
only in
stitch?
the
Yeah,
round.
that was
It was
Only
half
in
a
the round.
stitch
that was
and
about
one.
mine.
Yeah. What kind of fiber are you using, Aura?
Is the wool stock tweed Aran.
Okay. So it's a non-superwash.
Yeah, no, it's no, yeah, no
Yeah, what
super.
about you, Stephanie? What are you using?
I use Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes.
Okay, so again, another non.
Yeah.
Did anybody use a superwash?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. I just wondered if I know that sometimes can
Yeah.
make a difference,
Mhm.
or sometimes a cotton can make a difference, or an acrylic can make a difference
Yeah.
too.
Normally, when I use super wash, it definitely grows,
Yeah, it stretches.
but
Mm-hmm.
not with this thing.
Right.
But
Okay.
I can tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I am not ever, well, you never say ever because you never know,
Yeah.
but I am not a fan of using Aran for a sweater or a vest. I mean, this thing is like, oh my God. I
It's
think
like a blanket.
yeah, it's going to weigh like pounds and pounds if I have that on top of me. So
Yeah,
no,
I'm with you on that for sure. Yep. Um, let's see. I'm looking forward to seeing what I get when I block. I'm using Scout, which is again a non-super wash. Um, my experience, I mean, I've had a lot of experience with this yarn, and I know that um, when we started to read about gauge in here, uh, let's see. I had said many of those things that she talked about. Let me find it. What was it? Oh, here it goes. Um, when she was talking about the swatching snafus,
Mhm.
mhm.
denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Yeah,
So,
like that.
yeah, we don't cast on enough stitches for sure. I'm not casting on enough stitches. Yeah. We only knit a few inches. How many of you knit the absolute, like, I see it from the other side. People come in, is this enough? Is this enough? I'm like, well, is it enough for what? Um, stretch your swatch or squinch it up to get the gauge you want.
Mhm. Yep.
A lot of people do that. Oh, I'll block it out to make it fit.
Mhm.
Why would you do that? Like, are you every time? I'm a little harder on my sweaters than I think a lot of people are. I have to wash my stuff relatively often because I'm a mess. I just make a mess. I have dogs and I'm a mess. So I'm not gonna block it out to certain measurements every time I wash a sweater. Hello, no. Or you don't bother washing your swatch. Now, most people, what you said, half an inch or half a stitch?
Half a stitch.
Half a stitch.
Hmm.
So if you're casting on 200 stitches, that adds up.
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, half a stitch doesn't sound like much until that's a half a stitch for every 4 inches.
Hmm.
So multiply, I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
many, many stitches
Mhm.
then. Um, Measuring it while it's still on the needle, at the very least, put it on the cord. Move it to the cord of your needle, or put it on barber cord. Um, like, oh yeah, I've done all the, oh, and not factoring in gravity. And there's going to be more about that in the next exercise. Um,
That's always a really tough for me because I can never gauge the actual weight. You know what I mean? Sometimes you put too little, too much, or I don't know.
absolutely. Um,
Pam, I sometimes wonder when I'm at the shop if it makes a difference. Like when I'm at home, I'm usually just sitting in a chair or on the couch when I'm knitting, where we're sitting at the tables at the shop. And, does that make a difference?
mhm, absolutely. And you're laughing and are you paying attention? Are we,
Right.
absolutely for sure. There's some things that I feel like sometimes I don't, if I have to really follow the pattern, then I got to be by myself. If it's just
Right.
kind of mindless knitting, I'll bring that in, but
Hmm.
I think I'm maybe doing a disservice to my mindless knitting too if I'm not even paying a little bit of attention to it. And
Mhm.
and this now we're talking about things that we need to fit. If I'm doing a washcloth, like hello. Am I doing a baby blanket? As long as I like the way it looks, like it doesn't have to fit anybody. But
Mhm.
we're talking about things that fit. So you got to keep that in the right frame of mind. So absolutely.
I've been accused of making my swatches too big.
Yeah, we won't tease you about that anymore. Um, Peg said she took a class once that she had to bring in, when she went to Squam, and her swatch had to be 10 inches wide.
Wow.
And
Wow.
they were doing something with it. And then I think they were also using the swatch to do maybe some embroidery or something, which is really
Oh,
why it needed to be so
Mhm.
big. But she's like, what? Tell me why before I have to do that.
right.
I did really like her cookie math in here, though.
I
And
hate.
then once we moved out of the cookies, I got to tell you, I had to reread it several times. Anybody else? Yeah,
Yep.
It's confusing, I thought.
it
Mhm.
is It is confusing. Absolutely. Um, Beth can keep all of that in her head really, really well. I have to look it up every time. Like, okay, I know that if I know this and I know this, I can figure out this, but I have to look up the formula every time. There are some people that just can, but I like knowing that there is a formula. And I do think the way she did it, and did everybody do the exercises, the magic triangle exercises?
Yep, I did.
Yeah. Those were a little annoying, but it really stopped me. I really had to
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, it was good.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I love that there was an answer key so I could check my work. Um, I found her magic triangle of gauge a little confusing, but the formulas I was able to follow.
Mhm.
Deborah, you're doing a lot of shaking of your head.
Yeah, I did follow the formula, but you're right. The triangle seems to work for some of them, but the other you have to think which one am I? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I kept saying I didn't get it.
Okay,
The
got it.
triangle thing. The formula is what I have been using in my head the whole time.
Exactly. And I think
But
knowing the formulas is good, but so there are three things. I mean, so the 3 points of the triangle
well,
that
yeah,
your stitches are your rows, how many inches and your gauge. So
Right. Right.
I get that, but I liked having a formula I could plug in. I thought that
Me
was very
too.
helpful.
Yeah.
That was the part I found really helpful too. Yeah.
Yeah, the triangle left me scratching my head. But I didn't get done in time to do all the exercises. I only did the first page and then it was time to join the Zoom. So
Yeah.
I'll do them though, because it's been, it's very helpful for me, particularly when I look at
Right.
something that's in my closet, which I want to, it was manufactured and I want to make one like it and try to find a pattern and yada, and I'm thinking, oh, this is what I need. So I will do those exercises and refer to the cheat sheet for the answers.
Right. And there's no reason why you can't. You just use the cheat sheet. I mean, that
That's,
will
yep.
help you out no matter what.
Right.
I do think it's very freeing to know that, and we talk a lot about this in the shop. Doing the gauge swatch is really, really important. The second most important thing is that you get a fabric you like.
Yes. Yeah.
That just because the fabric meets the gauge of the pattern, if you don't like it, like don't do it. Let's get a fabric you like and then do the math to make it work. Peg loves the math. Beth loves the math. I can do the math. I don't love the math, but I can do the math as long as I have my little cheat sheet set up.
Right.
Um, and some patterns that's easier than others. If you've got color work and you've got stitch repeats and all of those sorts of things, there's more things that factor into that. But it is absolutely doable. And then you end up with, if we're talking sweaters, something that really fits you well.
Right.
And it does make all the difference.
When I first read the Bag of Tricks, when I got the book either earlier this year or the end of last year, I can't remember, but I read through the book at that time as soon as I got it. I did not understand the triangle of gauge, the magic triangle of gauge. It didn't make sense to me. But then when I read it this time, it made sense. I understood it. I didn't understand it before, but I understood it and I used it.
Good. I think um, for more people than not, having that tactile working through something really can make all the difference to making it make sense. One thing we haven't talked about though is how everybody's row gauge. What did you notice about your row gauge?
Was the same everywhere.
Was it?
It didn't change at all. Not pre-blocking, not around, nothing.
Mine was larger.
In
Mine was too. Mine was larger.
in the round?
Yeah.
Just
Both.
just a little bit larger around.
Mine was exactly the same. Pre-blocking, after, whatever. That didn't change.
You're so consistent, Aura. I love it.
No, I mean, I'm telling you, that is a fluke.
It does make a difference though with a heavier yarn.
Yes.
It fills up space. Right. Absolutely.
May I ask a question?
Please.
My blocked and unblocked gauge changed, I think, embarrassingly, a lot.
It shouldn't be. It can. Absolutely, it can.
Okay. Well,
that is not uncommon.
It's Rowan Cotton DK is what I did it with. And I met the ball band gauge unblocked. Happy camper. I thought, okay. I felt weird with the doing it in the round, which I was surprised that I felt weird because normally I don't.
Right.
And I thought, all right. So I went ahead and I wet blocked it, and it says do not pin out stockinette stitch, which I didn't know, but I just kind of stuck it on my little plate. 2 stitches off.
Oh.
In both the stitch gauge and the row gauge.
Was it
bigger or less?
Yeah, bigger or less?
It went, let's see, unblocked was 22 stitches to the inch, Blocked was 20 stitches to the inch.
So what happened when you blocked it, your stitches stretched out
Is that what
and
happened? Oh, they stretched out. Oh, okay.
because they got bigger,
They
so
bloomed.
it took fewer of them
Okay.
to fill up that 4 inches. They were bigger stitches. So I bet you a lot of that has to do with it being a cotton.
That was my question is, do you think it's because, and I typically don't knit with cotton.
Hmm.
I don't like the feel of it, but this Rowan is pretty damn nice, actually.
It does feel nice. It
Yeah.
absolutely does. Yeah.
But
Uh,
okay, thank you.
cotton
I was
doesn't
hoping.
cotton doesn't have necessarily a memory. So once it gets
Right.
wet and it takes on a shape, wool will often go back a little bit, which is why she talks a lot about letting it rest.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you hang it, shake it out, let it rest for an hour because those fibers will change a little. Cotton, they
Mhm.
will not. They don't
Okay.
have a memory.
Okay.
So but that tells you a lot about knitting a sweater in cotton.
It definitely does.
It gets
Yes.
big and it doesn't want to go back.
Nope.
And
So, and like I said, I normally use wool and, it just kind of embarrassed me. I thought, how come everybody else is like doing good and I'm two stitches?
it isn't, and you know what? You learned a really important thing about the type of fiber. And actually, I
Mhm.
think I was looking forward to the next lesson. She's gonna have us using different
Three.
types of fiber, and we're gonna find out a lot of that same information. So don't be embarrassed. That is absolutely excellent information.
Okay.
Um, I have a lot of hand knit or crocheted even dishcloths in cotton, and they started out perfectly square and lovely, and now they're all,
Oh yeah. I mean, all
it's what,
my,
but
but who cares? It's
that's what happens
additional.
to cotton, but who cares? Exactly.
Oh,
I
well,
have a question about that for next lesson.
Yeah.
I read that yes, she wants us to use three different, I mean,
Hmm.
plant-based, acrylic, I mean, animal,
yes.
but she actually have a tiny sentence. She wants us to use the same weight.
Close to the same weight
Yeah,
if you
so
can.
they wanna, and
So you
I
I
didn't
was trying to find something in your
see that.
store so I can buy it because mine are completely different weights. I said, boy, I'm going to have to go to the store and find
Right.
some pure cotton, pure acrylic, and alpaca around DK weight. That's what I'm
Right.
looking
Oh,
Um,
I didn't see
DK,
that.
we could make that happen. Yeah.
for.
DK, we have a lot of different fibers in DK, which is nice. I think in the next lesson, what she really wants us to do is just be able to compare the fibers and not let the weight of the yarn or the thickness
Yeah,
of the yarn change.
yeah.
Um, the information, we're just going to focus on what happens to those fibers. We're going to be weighing them and those kinds of things. So, yeah. There was
So
something.
is it the next lesson? The three different kinds, they have to be in the same weight?
It is,
Yeah.
yes. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so all you procrastinators, I made myself a little note. Take heed because so having three different fibers, which is great, but make sure you have the ball band because we're going to be referring to the ball band. Even if you know what it is, you can look up the ball band information on Ravelry. Does everybody know how to do that?
Mhm.
Okay. If
Yep.
you don't, reach out and we can do that. So if you've got left like, oh, I know this is Scout, but I don't have the label anymore, but I know what it is, I could look it up. So you're going to want that information for next time. And I kind of looked ahead. The swatches will need to be blocked and weighted.
Yeah, what do we do the weight thing? My
So if
earrings don't work. For me.
binder clips are good.
Ah,
Doesn't have to be a lot of weight.
that I got.
But little binder clips are good. If you've got chip clips, those work because it's just a little piece, but
Okay.
she's going to be talking about how yarns grow and what yarns grow. So what you experienced, Deborah, with your cotton is going to
Mm-hmm.
come in front and center next time.
Yep.
So plan ahead if you want to be completed, but I don't care if you're completed. Nobody cares. Everybody's doing this at their own pace, which is fine. But if you want to be finished, don't wait till the night before. It won't work. Just saying.
I did read that it says you can now do a stitch pattern, anything that you like. Pam, would you suggest that we all choose something that but the same or no? Or does it matter in whatever this lesson
I
is?
think for if you're going to choose a stitch pattern, do the same stitch pattern for all your swatches.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But if you're tired of knitting in stockinette, if you have a little lace pattern or you want to do seed stitch, I don't know why anybody would want to knit that much seed stitch. That sounds crazy to me. Makes my fingers hurt to think about it.
I love
Um,
it.
exactly. But you
So
can make
you're
it a
not
little more fun.
suggesting any particular pattern. Just pick one and go. Okay.
Exactly. But use the same one for all your swatches. So we're
Right. Yeah.
comparing apples to apples as much as
No,
possible.
but
Right.
she first wants you to do a couple of inches in a stockinette and then switch to the
And then
pattern.
switch. Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Pam, which yarn did you say had the three different types, the animal, synthetic, and plant, or did you say that?
Uh, I know we have it in DK. So we've got a wool. We've also have an alpaca in DK. We also have completely plant-based. We've got ananas and we've got mojave, which is linen and cotton.
The pure linen, I can't remember the name in your store.
Yeah.
Linen, it's something.
Which one?
I have it in my
Oh,
basket.
okay.
I haven't bought it yet, waiting for this class.
And what's the other one?
Something called land yarns, creolino. I don't know if that's the
Oh yeah, that's the linen.
yeah. And I
Mhm.
have the color crafter from Sheepies. That's
Right.
the acrylic, I think.
And that's the acrylic, correct.
The Amano Eco Puna for alpaca.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have in the car now.
Right. Yeah, that eco.
And they are all kind of decay or
Yes. So they're not all
Wait.
all of yes, they're all as close as you can get. I mean,
yeah.
you can't take a piece of linen and make it look
Yeah.
like a piece of wool. It's just
I-
not it's not going to happen. So as close as you can in weight though. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Pam, if I have Scout, which is number 3 light, I need to find a cotton and an acrylic that are also number 3 light.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it can be different brands. It just has to be number 3.
and or as close to it as you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm using Scout too. I will probably use for my cotton. And did she say it could be a blend?
She doesn't say she only said blend for the animal fiber. Oh no, yeah, and the synthetic fiber, yes. All of them
Yeah.
blend, yeah.
So
Yeah,
the synth
I was trying to go pure and say
yeah. Um yeah. I was gonna say we have the soft fun, which is a cotton acrylic blend, but that's kind of that's kind of crossing over.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Ananas is a nice all plant-based yarn. It's part pineapple fiber.
Oh.
Um, it's completely plant-based, which is really nice.
What's the name again?
Ananas, A-N-A-N, A-N-N-A something. I can't spell.
Lots of A's, lots of N's.
And an S.
Yes, Ananas. I found
There
it.
you go. Perfect.
Say that again.
Ananas.
A-N-A-N-A-S. There you go.
Got it. Thank you.
Did anybody have more questions about this this section number 2 though? I don't want anybody to
No, we're good.
have a comment that they didn't get to share or question they didn't get to ask.
And you know what chapter in the book goes with lesson 3? Or
It starts with chapter 3, although you do go over to, what did I see? I started to write down page numbers here. In your workbook, I will tell you this. It is, I believe, chapter 3 on page 50, where we start talking about, and I did find this a little confusing. In your workbook on page 50,
Mhm.
chest measurement exercises, and she's got in her little bag of tricks logo
Oh, yeah.
thing that's like that. She's talking about tip 1 and 2. She actually uses the words tip 1, tip 2 a couple of times, but starting on page 62, she has the 4 tips. She has 3 tips prior, and those aren't the 3 tips she's talking about. It's,
Oh, wow.
and I found that really confusing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
starting on page 62, she talks about the 4 tips for picking the right size.
Mhm.
And those are the 4 tips she's referring to. So we use tip 1 and tip 2 on page 50, and tip 3 and tip 4 on page 52.
Of the workbook?
62.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the workbook, yeah.
Okay. Hang on.
That's where she's talking about the tips. When you
Oh.
go back to your regular book, you will find those tips on page 62. And the heading for it is Patty's 4 tips for picking the right size.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay.
64.
Yeah.
And mine says page 63.
So I'm looking at the Kindle.
We're
So
looking at errata.
Yeah, it's page,
yes.
no, it's page 63, yeah.
Oh,
63
okay.
and 64.
Sometimes when it's on a Kindle, it gets
Yeah.
off a
Oh, I
page.
got
So
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think those are the only things you have to refer back to the book on is those particular parts. So hopefully that'll make it easier to find the information.
Mhm.
And I don't think she jumps ahead to any other chapters.
The tips 3 and 4 are in what pages in the book?
In
60.
the book, 64.
Oh, yeah.
64.
64.
63 and 64.
Yeah.
Yeah. 63.
I noticed that on her YouTube channel this morning,
Yes.
she did a little talk about lesson 1.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know where that came from.
She's been talking about the lessons for a while, so you
Has
may
she? Off and
that's
on.
a whole one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Do I dare ask, where is Kim? How is Kim? Is Kim okay?
Kim's doing okay. Her mom is not well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think
It takes time.
I think they're meeting with hospice tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay. Well, give her
and I
big
said,
hugs from
yes, I said
everybody.
I would fill in as long
Yes.
as whatever.
And thank you for that, Pam.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. This is fun.
I have a friend
I love my job.
participating, but she 8 o'clock is our time,
Yeah.
and it's too late for her. She said, I'm just getting back from a church meeting, and so she is grateful that you're recording it because that's what she's following is the recording.
Absolutely. So I have my post-it. When I go to post the recording,
Oh, yeah.
I will put up the errata so that you guys will have access to that too.
Mhm.
So this swatch number 2, that it doesn't look like we use it again.
I don't believe that we
I don't
do.
think we do.
No.
So you can flip it if you want.
I was going to say, can we sneak it in as one of the? Oh no, because
No,
it,
you
has to have,
cannot.
it has to have a pattern. No, stop, Laura.
Yes, right.
You
That's
got me.
right.
It has to have, what did you say? It has to have a what?
A pattern.
Pattern.
It doesn't have to have a pattern, but you could add a pattern. Some people hate knitting and stockinette. It's just boring. They like to, so whatever you want to do is fine for the next one. Yeah.
That's when you pick a variegated or interesting yarn and it keeps you entertained.
It sure does. Absolutely. If you haven't spent a lot of time with the book, the very first page of the workbook has the swatch list, and it will tell you what lessons your swatch is used in. So we don't use this number 2 swatch again. Our number 1 swatch we will use again in lesson number 6. So I have that one on waste yarn or barber cord, waiting to come back to it. So lesson swatch number 2, you can fasten off
Okay.
or bind off. But
Right.
and then I have already realized that I'm not gonna be able to keep these straight. So I've been putting a little tag
Yep.
on each one so I know what swatch is what. Yeah.
Oh, I am taking pictures. I got a little printer. It seems I am printing and I'm sticking it in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I did. Took a picture and a sample of the yarn and taped it
Yes.
to the page. So
I know it. Exactly. Has anybody played with their stickers yet? I love stickers.
yeah.
I played with the tape that she has to
I
get
almost
the.
threw away my bookmarks.
I was looking for a cookie sticker and I didn't see one.
I didn't see a cookie sticker either. She wasn't thinking.
Pam, I have to leave to make a phone call, but thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you joined us,
Bye.
Kathy.
I'll try to catch up with you.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions?
No,
Right.
good.
Awesome. I'm going to stop the recording so it can start.